Boy, this project is digging back to my childhood by a number of years. Let's say second or third grade. This is going way back. And not even in direct focus of the title here, but the movie's adapting, but in some of Judy Blume's other writings. For example, Freckle Juice comes to mind. I remember reading that one probably, again, like I said, second or third grade era of my life, like way, many moons ago. So in terms of now me looking at a project based on her work as a 25-year-old guy, so much time has passed, and for me to say that I'm familiar with the Book of Focus would be dishonest, though I can say broadly, again, I'm familiar with her writings in regards to being a revered author. But the piece in itself of Focus was always an enticing read for me based on some of the cover art that I remember passing perhaps like on a store window as a kid, just in terms of bookshelves. And I couldn't tell you the edition of the release that it was. But, they say don't judge a book by its cover. But I'm like, it's a nice tease sometimes, especially when the illustration is effective enough and when you're looking at it with the eyes of a child. But I remember growing up hearing like this was and I say this because, again, I can already imagine the audience of Focus here. My mother was always telling me, like, oh, you don't want to read that one, it's a girl's book. Now looking at a short summary in regards to, many years later, being a 25-year-old guy, trying to get a good background for the piece, it's more so a coming-of-age, feminine-themed piece, which I would imagine, maybe some boys can read it and find some humor in it. It may have that energy. Again, I'm not exactly sure. If you've read the book, feel free to speak to that down below if maybe I'm on the right page or not. But I would imagine, based on, again, the topic of Focus, in that, again, it's more so on the aspects of a female growing up, especially around like the middle school days, which are always a troublesome time period for everybody. Transitioning to high school, maybe even worse in terms of those haunting teenage years. This is, I would imagine, more directed again at women in regards to audience appeal, and that might show up in the final audience demographics. We don't know yet. This project doesn't release until, when's the official? April 28th. Oh, it's a spring release. This could do kind of interesting. It's in the springtime. I could see a good turnout. Maybe it's a humor that'll bring people in terms of a broad audience. If that will be a factor, I don't know, because again, it's just a presumption at this point. But I could see perhaps some leeway in regards to casting attributions. If you're a Rachel McAdams fan, like I am, that might bring you in, even if, again, you're not familiar with the text of Focus and you've never directly read the entirety of the piece for yourself. But, maybe it'll be fun. We'll see. It's a comedy drama that might be endearing if, again, it's a good fit for the spring season. If you need a good background on it, again, like I said, perhaps you'd be better in reading the book. Maybe that you could say that about myself. Although, again, I'm like, sometimes when it comes to adaptations, I never read the piece that said visual project is based on. Like, do I read the book or do I go in unsuspecting? Right? It's kind of because it's not an equal translation. It never really is. Some projects are a good close approximation. Sometimes you have projects that take some certain leeway in regards to the movie stylization or TV show being very different in the storytelling mechanisms. You have to make certain cuts or extensions. There are changes that present themselves in the translation process. If you want a good background, though, just for right now, so you know what to expect when you're going into this trailer so that you're not completely dumbfounded, perhaps, this is what IMDb has to say in short summary. When her family moves from the city to the suburbs, 11-year-old Margaret navigates new friends, feelings, and beginnings of adolescence. Like I said, it's a coming-of-age story about a young girl in middle school. So again, I see immediately a drive towards the female audience, especially perhaps for those who can look back on their middle school years and see this type of journey mimicked. Because I would imagine, again, I don't know if the book is classified as realistic fiction, but I would imagine it's sort of the energy that it took, just again, from what I can understand of it. But as far as the trailer is concerned, again, like I said, Rachel McAdams, an immediate draw for me. I'm a big fan of her work in many of the films I've seen her in, as well as Kathy Bates. She's a familiar name. I don't know if I've seen her directly. I haven't looked at her filmography in full yet. But I'm sure this project will be endearing, at the very least in terms of a comedic energy. Knowing Rachel McAdams is in the cast, I have faith in terms of her performance that it will deliver, even if, again, the story of Focus is not familiar to me. But Judy Blume's writing, on a broad note, is. Let's take a look at this and see how Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret materializes. Again, from what I saw in terms of a summary, what the understanding I have of the piece in broad focus, it could be interesting. Again, like I said, I do have my presumptions of where the final audience factor will come to, but I can be proven wrong. Let's see how effective a trailer is in regards to engaging with somebody like me, who, again, perhaps does not have the relatability of what Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret would be reaching toward, in terms of an audience background, or a primary audience of focus. Okay, I like this type of old retro feel in regards to the font choice. Ages a piece a bit. the book is definitely spoken of. I'll give it that.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
I'm here to speak to you today about your changing bodies.
The blood is released through the vagina.
Please, just do this one thing for
No,
me.
it's base level science.
Let me just be normal and regular like everybody else. Just please, 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 please.
I say that last statement in connection to, well, you know, I usually keep things PG here. So.
I decided I want you to join my secret club. If you want to be in the club, then you have to wear a bra.
Oh. You think you need one?
Are you okay? You can tell me the truth.
I think I've seen Kathy Bates before.
Yes. We have the Campus Improvement Committee.
I'm just not sure where, but her name rang a bell.
Fundraising Committee. And how are you?
I read that when you don't have any loved ones around, your life expectancy drops drastically. But you know, I've had a good run.
Gets tiring. Trying so hard all the time, doesn't it?
I don't know if I want to do this. Just that we're ready. Please, God, let it be a lady.
I can imagine how awkward that is. I feel bad for the girls.
Do you think any of us will look like that when we're 19?
We must increase our bust!
Well, it's pulled from the book. It seems like a very faithful adaptation. At least I haven't read the piece yet, and that was in the summary of what I read. In some part, again, it definitely would, I would say, appeal to a nostalgic journey for women who have already gone through the middle-age, middle school era journey of transitioning from a girl into an adult woman, or nearing that. I don't, well, I mean, maybe there's some humor for the guys, say they're thinking, I'm not, like, we can sort of place ourselves in the opposite respect, because our journeys, especially when it came to the school, I don't even remember. I mean, it's funny. People speak about their growing up sessions in school. I don't even remember mine. I mean, it'd be so different from the way it's handled today, for sure. I mean, I would much rather, not to, derail on the point too much or go on a tangent here, but I'd certainly say that we need to get back to sort of this base level. From what I understand, the way schools handle this type of puberty conversations these days, it's changed drastically. And it could go more to, like, the bare bones, even if, me sitting here as a 25-year-old guy listening to this type of documentation. This is what happens in the female. Like, I get it. Again, it's science. It's anatomy. It's just not usually the conversation I have directed to focus on a channel or on the content that I cover. So when I watch this, again, I immediately think this is going to have a pull in certain context to the line work and the story's theme to a more female-skewed audience, because there's a general relatability there at a Fred that this is a very realistic story, at least again from my first impression with it. But some of the line work is great. I thought Kathy Bates' line about the falling out, or what'd you say, like if you don't fall in love at a certain point, or whatever, that whole bit, that was good. Great delivery on that front. Emotionally sensitive in a way that does appeal to me. This end joke, I thought, again, like I said, if you reverse it for, the opposite sex, it's the same thing. Like, there are certain things, guys go through that, and we don't talk about it. Like, we're not this. Guys, well, I've always been a bit of an abnormality. But normal male peers in my circles, perhaps, and I guess it's a general feeling among males, we're not often that open. So perhaps we experience a scenario like this where, hey, we as guys, have things that we deal with, and on occasion, maybe not for everybody, and you hope that the person that you are consulting at the check stand is either someone of the same sex or a self-checkout register. Like, the computer won't fight back or make me feel awkward. They just worry about the customers looking at you. It's a very relatable energy, so I do see perhaps a connection point where it could be palatable to a larger audience, even though the story of context, just again from a brief perusing I've given and from what I've been told in years past, is more female skewed. But I mean, it could make for a very fun I could see that being a good pairing. Like if you want to attend this showing, for example, if you got a girlfriend or your wife, wants to go watch this, and you're the husband, it might put you in a bit of an awkward position in terms of the content you're watching, being like, well, I can't directly relate, but hey, I'm having fun with you. It could be a rather endearing project. I don't know. Casting draws again immediately. I know I've seen Kathy Bates somewhere. I just don't remember exactly what project at this point. Rachel McAdams, though, like I said, a big fan of her. And the line work in certain parts was great, and I thought the comedic energy was demonstrated quite well. It seems like a very accurate and faithful translation that could be funny. It could be even endearing for somebody like me who did not have this direct connection to the story that Are You There, God? With Me, Margaret is articulating. But the humorous delivery from what I've seen embodied in other works of Judy Blume, let's say, for example, again, Freckle Juice. That's the one I can best reflect on in terms of being when I was a kid, even though I don't remember the story really almost at all. But I remember the energy to it. And that seems to have been perfectly embodied, in my opinion, with this piece. Now, for those of you who've read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, its full context, we better to speak on this point. How do you feel about this project's translation? Is it accurate? Is it faithful? And is it a draw for you? If you're a woman who's gone for the middle school days, is this a relatable journey for what you experience? And perhaps is that the point of resonance that you see this project best appealing to you? Or is it the comedic energy of the piece? If you're a guy, how open do you feel to this? Do you feel like this project, perhaps for you, demonstrates a broad appeal? Even if, again, the focus of the direct audience is more specific to the opposite side. Do you still feel like you could have a fun time with this, maybe in some of her merits? Or perhaps, again, putting yourself on the opposite side and considering the entire time you watch this, well, as a guy, this is what we experience. Kind of doing that mental comparison as you entertain the piece. I'd love to hear what you think down below on the project, should you choose to disclose your opinion on it. It might be awkward. I mean, like I said, I gave the example of going to this movie with a romance or a love flame. I don't have that. I'm a single guy. So for me, it might be a bit awkward. I know, maybe, okay, so if I want to have that example, because actually, again, like I said, I could see merit to it, by April 28th, I've got to get a girlfriend. Or at the very least, open myself up to find somebody where it's like, hey, you're a female compatriot. You want to go to the theater with me? And enjoy this so I don't perhaps feel so awkward sitting here, as the man who can't directly relate to the piece. But, I can still find some charm in it, I think. Again, it's got a good comedic energy. And it seems like, again, it's generally palatable. I like the spirit to it in terms of what I'm seeing on it right now. So, again, I might not have that direct Fred, but even still, for someone like me, it could be an entertaining adaptation of Judy Blume's work. We'll see. And we'll see what the draw is, in regards to the project releasing itself, but I think there happens to be some potential. I'm very curious to see, again, the full-on debut, and to answer the question again, who does this best appeal to when we get more of a measurement in regards to the audience draw. But from what I'm seeing, it actually looks like a fun spring watch. I think there's some potential in terms of it reaching a broad audience and a general crowd, especially, I'm sure, the women, enjoying themselves with this. I think there's some merit to that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.